The anime starts with a strange scene without much context. The city appears destroyed and a voice tells a boy standing in the rain not to try too hard and if it hurts too much to go somewhere else. He ends up telling the boy to live life as wanted to and he replies that he would. The scene cuts with him wandering around until he finds a castle. He opens the door and sees monsters rebuilding the courtyard of the castle. Flashbacks show a powerful warrior exterminating an army of monsters and when he opens a door that leads in the throne room he speaks in thought that the demon queen called Echidna and her 4 knights were there. He approaches slowly grateful that they don't notice his disguise and when he gets close to them he takes off his hood and attacks everyone. No, I'm kidding. He asks her for a job. Yes, exact. His name is Leo Demonheart and he introduces himself with a beautiful speech saying that he is a former hero and knows the difficult situation she is in thanks to him having defeated her with a single blow with his army when she tried to attack humanity, but with good news, he would help her rebuild her army and exterminate all humans. With that speech he was confident that he won the vacancy, but the only thing he gets is a spur from Echidna and a blast of fire in the face, with her asking how he dares to go back there after what he did. A narration happens with Leo explaining that he was an extremely strong hero who was summoned by the king to defeat Demon Queen's army who came to attack humanity, but he says that his companions were a bunch of dead weights that only got in the way, so he decided to do everything alone and exterminated the army himself. This narration was him explaining this to the Queen's 4 generals and saying that he did not understand her reason for not accepting him, and one of them says that she doesn't like his behavior. Another tells them to get on with this conversation right away because Echidna would be pissed if she found out that they were talking to him. He speeds up the conversation saying that he would like to remind them how strong he is and recalls how he defeated each of the 4 and says that because he defeated them all he was more than fit for the position. One of the 4 named Edwald says he signs below about him being powerful and laughing. He says that it had been a while since he had fought someone as powerful as he was. Leo remembers their fight and says that it could have gone bad for him if Edwald was in a group. He asks Edwald why serve someone if he is powerful enough to sleep the world alone, and he replies that he wouldn't have time to spend with his daughter if he did that. The episode continues with Leo explaining to us, the audience, how he met and defeated each one of them. Mel, a legendary assassin strong as hell who took a bludgeon from Leo and was down like hell. Lily, a monster girl he found without memory while sheltering from the rain and nursed her until she remembered who she was, defied him and lost, and a magician named Steina who was unable to use her spells after Leo's nullification spell and tried to beat him in the fight, but she only really tried. She asks why he is wanting to change sides and he replies that after he has fought against the 4 and defeated Echidna itself, instead of being received with applause for saving humanity he was received with looks of fear and skepticism, with people even calling him a monster. A politician gave a speech in public calling him a threat and everyone shouted that he should be killed. Shortly after he was surrounded by a group of assassins, but with a movement of his hands he threw everyone away. The guy defeated the Demon Queen's army alone and the guys think that sending assassins after it will work. The humans in this anime have a chicken in place of the brain is not possible. He continues explaining that after that the king called him in his castle and banished him from the kingdom, and with nowhere to go he wandered until he stopped in a bar where he heard that Echidna was trying to rebuild her army, in that he thought that they would accept him there, and crossed from the burning desert to the mountains to reach the castle. After hearing his story, Steina feels that he was really telling the truth and says she would hire him but for a trial period of 1 month, and if she was not satisfied he would be expelled. She also tells him not to let Echidna know about it, but that if he did well the 4 would recommend his official hiring, and soon they start talking about what needed to be done in rebuilding the army. After listing a few things, Steina gets discouraged with the amount of things she had to do, and Lily says that she was in charge of the logistics of everything, which was the hardest part. Leo says that he is not surprised that everything goes wrong. He says in the narration that they need someone who knows how to manage all of this since they were rebuilding from scratch and entering the throne room. Leo says he needed to talk to Echidna and ask why she prevented her soldiers from killing humans in the invasion, saying that the conquered kingdoms would be governed peacefully, and also wonders why she didn't let him the human world after his defeat. The scene cuts with Leo waking up the next day and saying that the morning starts early in the castle and that he had a lot of work to do to prove himself useful in these 30 days. It starts early for him, at least because Steina was sleeping like a stone and wouldn't wake up for anything in this world. Leo then changes his voice to Echidna's, and Steina, when hearing her master speak, wakes up at the time with a Kagako, but when she sees that it was Leo, She gets angry and attacks him, breaking the wall and making Echidna think they were under attack. Clearly very professional, this team of hers. She gets a scowl and he asks why that ass face. She replies that it's because of him and attacks him with ice magic. He, speaking in his mind, says that after his colossal victory against the demon, most of them return to the demon world to recover, leaving all the reconstruction work in the hands of the 4 generals. However, the only one who knew how to do this job was Steina, who was overloaded with having to do everything and teach others at the same time. Leo then decides to lighten her burden by helping her with some tasks and says that the task of replenishing the mana reactors would be on him. She thanks him, and on the way out he notices a girl with white hair who runs away as soon as she sees him. Echidna holds a meeting with the other generals about Steina being working too much, saying that she would like to help her, and the scene cuts with Leo returning from his task. She gives one more to him, but he refuses to do it, saying that he was tired, and uses a magic to observe her working while After a while resting, she asks him to go back to work, but he refuses, saying that he was still recovering. He continues to refuse again and again, always with the same excuse, until Steina freaked out with him, saying he wasn't useful for the army and about to release a powerful spell on him. But before that, someone knocks on the door, and when we open it we find out it's that little girl with long hair, white. Her name is Dianette, and she came to make a report on the maintenance of the reactor. She says that the maintenance was a success thanks to the talisman he gave her, and Steina interrupts her, asking Leo if he wasn't the one who fixed the reactor, but he asks her to let the girl finish her report. She continues, saying that with the talisman that Leo gave her she managed to refuel without problems, and offers to refuel them whenever she needs to, thus saving Steina's energy. I didn't get to explain, but only Steina can replenish the castle's magic reactor. If someone else tries, then it's bad, but thanks to that stone that Leo made, anyone can replenish it. He explains how he got this stone, how he turned it into a talisman, and even explains how he spent the 30 minutes he was gone giving the talisman to Dianette and a few more mages for them to refuel the reactor, all with the intention of saving Steina time and effort. He explains that instead of a super skilled person doing all by herself, she should delegate small tasks to less capable people, thus distributing the work, and ends by saying that she should organize everything so that things keep going forward even if she drops dead tomorrow. Even so, she calls him a bum and says that he was left alone hanging around for a long time doing nothing, but he replies that he wasn't just hanging around. Remember, he used a spell to observe her work? So, he says that he noticed some inefficient things in her tasks and took the liberty of changing the order of some. He also says that the ones he circled in red could be delegated to other monsters. After literally making her life a lot easier on the first day of work, at least he deserved a thank you, and she finally thanks him. He says it was nothing, because if she fell the castle would also fall, and then he would have nowhere to go, and says goodbye, saying he will perform his next task. The scene cuts with her asking for his help once again. She explained that Lily was going on a mission to the city of Largo to collect and bring supplies that were running low to the castle. However, this was a dangerous mission, and to make matters worse, she shows her the plan to mission that Lily did, being just a drawing with nothing planned. What are the chances of leaving for Leo, huh? The scene cuts with a narration by Leo explaining about the Sea of Largo, a sea full of mysteries surrounded by islands full of dangers and valuable things. Isn't that what Leo really has left? Yes, he had to accompany Lily on this mission due to her lack of planning, and they barely arrived and she's already running around aimless. It's okay that she's a child. I also wanted to know how Leo doesn't feel hot in that armor. The scene cuts before they go to this island with Leo asking why they needed to collect supplies there, and Steina replies that it's because the demonic army has a strong alliance with the people of that island who are dragon, and they settled there after humanity has rejected them and started hunting them. She explains that during the invasion against humanity, the dragons received them and still helped them a lot, thus allowing them to fight for much longer. He complains, saying he didn't want to have to babysitting, but accepts this mission and goes on. The scene cuts to Lily running all over the place and racing with the demons that were sent to see who carried the supplies to the fastest port. That even seems like a good idea, but after arriving at portal with only one load of supplies and there were several to carry, she says that's enough for today and tells everyone to rest. And seeing the pace of things, Leo says that this way it would take a long time to finish the job. It seems like work in Brazil. He says that if there was a way to designate certain groups to control certain monsters on the island and make them help, they would finish everything in a maximum of 2 days. The scene cuts with him seeing how badly the work was being done, but not being able to do anything about it, because when talking to some goblins telling them to do their task differently, they refuse, because they say that any change would have to have the approval of the boss, Lily, in that he enters his hut to rest, practically giving up help in this work. The scene cuts to the castle with a goblin giving the report that no supplies had arrived yet, and upon hearing that, Melns asks if she believed that Lily would handle the job, and she replies that yeah, because she is one of the 4 generals. Leo knew that Lily really worried a lot about him to the point of getting desperate and going out looking for medicine because he said he had a headache. When she comes back with the medicine, she sees him in bed very sick, saying that a snake had bit, and beside him there was a snake known as the death snake circling the tent. He says he was dying and she starts crying and suggests taking him to Steina to be healed, but he replies that he can't because the portal wasn't working. She then says that she would get some medicinal herbs to cure him, and he tells her to go get them in the western peaks. But what if I told you that this was actually his trolling? Calm down, is Trology Garai. This was all his plan to make her mature while trying to get the herb, because to reach the top of the western peak and overcome the challenges he purposely put in her path, she would need a lot of coordination and teamwork. He was confident in his plan and was watching. Through magic, she transforms into the divine wolf Fenrir to try to overcome the first major obstacle he placed in her path, a giant indestructible stone that needed a mage to deactivate the magic that made it unbreakable so that it could pass. I had already left mages prepared for this in a nearby village, but you know what? Screw it. She doesn't care about Maguinho and manages to break the stone in the fight, not only through this one but also through the second one, and when arriving at the third one, a man alerts him to stop running because there was a precipice in front of him. This man was Leo himself in disguise, and he made that precipice with the intention of making her ask for help from some monster that knew how to fly to Craw. After he gave him this tip, she thanks him and leaves, saying that she would ask everyone for help, and while he ranting about how to make her a great leader, guess what? Yeah, she appears swimming under the cliff and climbing it easily, saying that when asking for help, who she talked to gave the idea of her crossing that way. Yes, at least she asked for help, right? She goes through all the challenges without help from anyone else, and Leo ends up falling asleep. When he wakes up, he notices that she had taken the weed and given it to him. He thought that his plan had failed, but she presents him with an idea of a plan which involved organized teamwork, and by Leo's face the plan was good. He asks if she thought of it alone, and she replies that a man in the forest helped her, saying that she could count on her friends when she needed. In this case, it was himself in disguise. Lily says that it is kinda dumb to think for herself, so someone needs to tell her things, and Leo learns a lesson from that. The lesson that he should have just told her that working as a team would finish the job faster instead of doing all those challenges and making her worry for nothing. The episode ends with something tense happen. After he arrives at the castle, Steina warns him that Queen Echidna wanted to see that Black Knight Onyx, which is basically the name he's using, so Echidna doesn't know he's there. Oh no, what's going to happen? The scene cuts to the modern world with Leo descending from a helicopter and killing several monsters. He was saving humanity from the Demon King's attack, but he says that instead of receiving applause and thanks, everyone looked at him with fear and contempt. Even so, he says that he would continue to protect humans because that's what he lives for. He wakes up scared, showing that this was all a nightmare. He then says that his day will be bad because it's always bad when he has a nightmare. He meets Steina and she discovers that he still hadn't met with Echidna even though she had called him a few days ago. He gets pissed to find out that he was called because of Steina, who said that a certain Knight Onyx was doing a great job in the reconstruction, and after talking a little more she says that if he was found out he should call her immediately, but he says he doesn't need to and would deal with it alone. He finally goes to meet her, who, different from what he was thinking, received him with a smile on the face, happy face for all his help. There's no way she can figure out he's Leo, the hero who wiped out her army, right? Wrong, because to celebrate his help she decided to make dinner for the two of them, and right, to eat he would have to take off his helmet. He sits at the table just lifting the helmet a little to be able to eat and drink, but soon Echidna asks him completely take off the helmet, and they go towards him to take it off themselves. The only thing he thinks at the time is to change his face, but he only manages to change his hair in time. She looks deep into his eyes and doesn't realize it was him because she's already a little drunk. Leo's objective becomes to get Echidna drunk so she can finish this dinner soon, and when he finally thinks she's had enough, she says she's finished warming up and starts drinking straight from the bottle. The scene cuts with Steina worried about Leo and wondering if she should go there to try to help him, but she's afraid of screwing up. Then Lily appears there to deliver her report, or which leaves Steina dying of embarrassment, thinking she heard everything. The scene cuts with Leo saying that even though the drinking strategy didn't work, he had another trick up his sleeve, but he needed time to gain that time. He starts talking about the having dinner with her. Conversation goes on. Conversation comes until she finally brings up the subject he was waiting for. She asks why he has to wear a helmet all the time, and he, taking advantage of the question, replies that he was cursed by the goddess Tiana and that consequently he cannot to be without his helmet for a long time. She is worried about him after that, and he says in thought that that was how to escape a situation like that. However, her response is unexpected. She just says, "Let's keep drinking all night," and his face when he heard that already says a lot about what he thought. They continue the conversation and she says that she was very happy to have him in her army and was grateful for everything he did even though he was a human. So he takes the opportunity to test. He reveals that he knows that the hero Leo wanted to join his army and asks if she planned to let him in. But upon hearing that name she is filled with fury and says that he was the one who prevented her from getting at the Philosopher's Stone. With this phrase revealing what she was after from the beginning, Leo explains that the Philosopher's Stone is a treasure kept in a sacred city and that was unearthed by the first king Sant 3,000 years ago. He explains that with it the capital was built and there are rumors about it turning the vacant lots around the city into green fields in addition to protecting people from the plague and being able to even make someone immortal. But he says that these rumors are actually false because he himself has already used one. The conversation gets more serious when Leo asks her what she intended to do with the Philosopher's Stone. He says in thought that since her defeat he was curious to know why even suffering a humiliating defeat and losing his army she didn't come back to the demon world. He imagines that if she was after something silly like riches she would have already given up, but no, she was even rebuilding her army. She asks him to come with her and takes him to the castle balcony where she is faced with an incredible sight. She says that the demon world is a sandy, empty and sad place, without sunlight, and the demons are always fighting each other for power. She explains that her goal is simply to transform their world in an earthlight with beautiful sunlight, vast vegetation and pure, clean air. Realizing that she only wanted the best for her world he speaks in thought that he misjudged her. He asks why during the war she forbade unnecessary bloodshed and she replies that as much as humans were her enemy, they are also fighting to protect her home. And there are also people who care about them, that's why she couldn't just kill them. She also says she doesn't wish any harm to the hero Leo because he, despite having decimated her army, was just doing the right thing, which was to protect humanity. After this conversation Leo says he sees her different now and calls her a caring queen who cared about her people. She asks what his motivation is in joining her army and he decides to tell her the truth and reveal his true nature identity, but when he will speak, guess what happened? Lily and Steina appear there with a letter from Mern saying he would leave and another letter from Edwald saying he failed to train his troops properly so he would take his life. But are these letters really true, or are they just a second plan to help Leo get out of this? You will only know in the continuation of this video, so you already know, right? Leave a like and comment a lot.